So now, whenever we have an absolute value inequality, there's one thing we need to do. And so you need to keep that acronym in the back of your mind, GOLA. What that stands for, first of all, yeah, you're not cheering on the Lakers, but what it means is whenever you see the greater than symbol with an absolute value inequality, you're going to use the connector word or. Whenever you see a less than sign with an absolute value inequality, you're going to use the connector and. So basically that tells you what connector word you are going to use. So let's go ahead and look at an example. The first one says, solve each inequality, then graph your solution on a number line. So I see an absolute value inequality. First thing that should come to mind is GOLA. Now, the only way we can apply the GOLA is when the absolute value is all by itself. And it's all by itself right now, so I can start. Okay, so my first thing I'm going to do is rewrite this statement. And I'm going to copy it verbatim. So I'm just going to copy it, leave off the absolute value signs. So I've got x is less than 3. What comes next? What's the connector word with less? And. So I'm going to put x is less than 3 and x is, now here comes the switch part. You're going to switch the sign, switch the sign. So instead of being less than, it's now going to be greater than. Instead of being positive 3, it's going to be negative 3. So switch, switch. And so now what I need to do is graph that. So the first statement is going to be x is less than 3. So I'm going to go ahead and make my number line 0, 1, 2, 3. And so x is less than 3. What type of circle will go on 3? Open. And which way am I going to shade? To the left. Okay, so I'm going to shade this way. For x to be greater than negative 3, what am I going to do? Open circle on negative 3. And which way am I going to shade? To the right. Okay, so now with and, what I'm going to do is I'm going to combine those. Okay, and so I'm going to combine those into one joint solution.
So you go from negative 3 to 3.
So the very first thing I'm going to start with is I'm going to start with an open circle on negative 3, and I'm going to start with an open circle on positive 3. Okay. Now, if it's and, it has to be shaded in both. So what area is going to be shaded in both? The middle. The middle. So your final solution will be that number line in addition to this statement right here. Questions? We're going to go ahead and look at another one. The absolute value of x is greater than or equal to 5. So first thing I start with, I'm going to rewrite. Absolute value is all by itself, so x is greater than or equal to 5, or that's my connector word, x is less than or equal to negative 5. I've switched the sign, switched the sign. Yes, yes. You always switch, yep, you always switch the signs with the absolute value inequalities. So now let's see what this means, or. So first one, x is greater than or equal to 5. What type of line would that, or what type of circle? Closed circle? So some people have asked, do I always have to write down 3 number lines? Well, no, there is a way you can go about doing this. What you could do is kind of just make some jots above. So what you could do for x is greater than 5, you could do this, just kind of to make a note for yourself. And for the next one, x is less than negative or equal to negative 5, so you could go over here and you could say, okay, well, I know that that is shaded this way. And then now when I'm going to go ahead and make my joint statement or, I'm going to go ahead and shade. Oops, give me a second. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and put one dot here, one dot here. And which way am I going to shade on each of those?
Left and right.
I'm going to shade this way, and I'm going to shade this way. Okay, so once again, the number line with the red is your solution, as is this following statement. Questions on that? Okay. Now, what you see up here on the board, okay, I have 6y minus 5 is greater than 13. 6y minus 5 is greater than 13. So, absolute value inequality. First statement, 6y minus 5 is greater than 13. What's the connector word? Or 6y minus 5 is what? Less than negative 13. So I'm going to solve each of those. First thing you're going to do is add 5. Yep, add 5 here. So you should get 6y to be greater than 18. Divide by 6, and so you get y to be what? Greater than 3. Let's look at the next one. You add 5 to both sides. You should get 6y to be less than negative 8. So y is less than negative 1 and 1/3. Okay, now connector word is or, so that is part of your first answer. Now the next thing, it's greater than 3 or it's less than negative 1 and 1/3. So you could go ahead and write out 3 number lines if you choose. You wouldn't need to in this case if you kind of already gotten that down. Greater than 3 means you're going to have an open circle at 3 and you're going to shade to the right. And then the next one, y is less than negative 1 and 1/3. You're going to have an open circle at negative 1 and 1/3. And then you're going to go ahead and shade to the left. So hopefully you're kind of getting the hang of these things. Okay, do we have any questions? Something that's not quite making sense? Oops, a second. There we go. This very last one we're going to look at tomorrow. And so this is the plan. There's your assignment. You can get started on it now if I were you. The other thing is this will actually be due Thursday. That's when we are going to be checking it. And tomorrow you will have a worksheet over the absolute value inequalities as well.
Thank you.
Okay? So this is the last section in chapter 1. You are going to be having a quiz within the next week. So just be aware it's probably going to be Monday, Tuesday-ish, around there.